joining. So hello, everyone. My name is Shannon Bellamy. I'm with Jewel Community Power. Jewel is a CCA or Community Choice Aggregation Program Administrator responsible for administering the town of Henrietta's new Community Choice Aggregation Program. So with us today, we have some members of, I see, the town board and the sustainability committee. So thank you so much to all of those who have worked so hard to get this program in place. We are very excited for the launch of this program. So as you will see here, this is Monroe Community Power. Monroe Community Power is the name of the aggregation or group of communities in this region that have community choice aggregation programs or are pursuing them in the near future. So that includes things like the town of Irondequoit, Brighton, Rush, Henrietta now, and the town and village of Pittsford. So that is what the program is. And give me 1 second here. I think your supervisor would like to say something. I think you should be here. I can allow you to unmute. Oh, not that. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just going to touch on a couple quick questions because I'm actually away from the office right now, but I wanted to be up and answer two of the questions that I've been asked the most with regards to the town's choices more than the CCA itself. So some people asked, why didn't the town make it opt out? And the simple answer is that wasn't a choice. Similarly, we have been trying to make it that the default was conventional. Unfortunately, that wasn't a choice. The second question we get asked is, why did we do this? And it's twofold. One, last year we had a lot of senior residents on fixed incomes complaining about the rapidly changing utility prices, and is there any way that we could help with that? And so this does do that, because we'll be establishing a fixed price that anyone can opt in at any time during the 27 months. And then the second reason is for those who are interested in renewable power, it's a better price for those people interested. In no way are we trying to push people to one choice or the other. We're just making this available. So I just wanted to let people know that, and I'll return it to Shannon.
Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. And we'll touch a little bit more on that as we go. Okay. So let's get started. So as you may know from the letter that you likely received, the town of Henrietta has selected 50% New York State renewable electricity as the default supply for the community for this new community choice aggregation program, which will be launching in September of 2023, so in just a month or so. We'll talk more about this selection and the electricity supply rates, but first let's talk a little bit more about community choice aggregation and the letter you received. So if you are here, you most likely received this letter from Monroe Community Power, the name of the program, which tells you all about the program and the offering. So this letter went out to all who were eligible for the initial enrollment of the program. So you may have received this letter, but your neighbor may have not received the letter. So there are different criteria for different people for automatic enrollment. So just know that while you received it, not everyone may have. But this letter just lets you know that the program is coming and has all of the key program information on it. If you see this, please do read it. It is the town's program. This is an official letter from us, so don't throw it away. Be sure to read that. It has some really good information in there about the program, as well as more resources to where you can learn more. Okay, so in this quick presentation, I'm going to talk about community choice aggregation, what it is, why we have one, the benefits of it, how this program impacts your utility bill and your relationship with the utility, how CCA impacts you, the next steps for the program, and then at the end, I'll cover some frequently asked questions and address any questions that you may have. If you're putting questions in the chat, I will get to them towards the end, so no worries. So first, community choice aggregation, or CCA for short, is a energy purchase program that was authorized by the New York State Public Service Commission back in April of 2016. And what it does is it allows communities such as the town of Henrietta to join together to aggregate their buying power of electricity to negotiate for better terms and better prices. So that's what that's saying there. It applies for all small businesses and residents who are eligible, and we'll get into the eligibility criteria here in a moment. But think of it like purchasing anything in bulk. If you were to go out looking for a fixed price for electricity or looking for renewable energy, you would have to do that contract on your own. Whereas now, with the help of a CCA, you as a community can go out to bid for favorable electricity supply terms and get the benefits of buying in bulk versus buying as an individual. So that's the concept behind community choice aggregation. I will say that when this program was designed, it was designed after a very successful pilot down in Westchester County. That program has continued and grown since then. And ever since then, community choice aggregation programs have been popping up across the state. We have several in the region, including the city of Rochester, which is one of the largest ones in the state. And CCA continues to grow as more and more people try to get some more favorable terms for their electricity. I will also say that this program was designed to be opt-out by the state. So what that means is that eligible residents and small businesses are automatically shifted into the new default. So this becomes the new default. What that means is that when you sign up for electricity, if you don't make a selection for a supplier, then you're automatically put into the utilities default, or RG&E's variable electricity rate, or Rochester Gas and Electric. However, through this program, instead of being put into the utilities default, you're now put into the community's default. So it becomes the new default for our community. This offers a fixed competitive rate and allows people to support renewable energy. So when we're talking about electricity supply for this, we are talking about the per kilowatt hour rate for electricity supply. And this program also helps support New York State renewable generation. So to take a step even further back to make sure we're all on the same page with what we're talking about, here is page 2 of a typical RG&E electricity bill. So I always like to go over this bill a little bit just to make sure we're all on the same page and understand what we're looking at. Here you'll see at the top, there's a box or a table that includes your meter read information. So you'll see your meter number, when your meter was read most recently, when it was read previously, the difference, and then the billed usage for that billing period, which is typically about a month. So what this is telling you is how much electricity you've used over the billing period. You can see that there's different types. Each number of the reading has either an A, E, C, or R, or N. That tells you how they got this information. So E means estimate, C means customer read, R means remote, N means no read. So that's always important to look for if you ever think that there's any issues with your usage or the bill in and of itself. But so that's your meter information. That's just good to know. But then let's talk about what you pay for the electricity that you use. So the first section here, we have electricity delivery charges. So these are the charges that go to the utility for their services. So this goes to Rochester Gas and Electric, RG&E, for their services, including, line maintenance, billing customers, customer care, meter reads, all of those types of things. That money is for the delivery or being a customer of the utility. The next section, electricity supply, is for the actual electricity that you receive and use. So there's a few different charges here. So this is a typical bill for someone who is not in a CCA program and just has RG&E's variable default supply. So you'll see that here on the first row is the variable supply charge. This means that the rate you're paying is variable. It changes each month. And you see it's the usage. So in this case, 947 kilowatts multiplied by the variable rate. So in this example, it was about 6.7 cents per kilowatt hour. And then they multiply those together to get your electricity supply charge. Then you'll also see that there's something here called a variable or a merchant function charge. This is the charge that RG&E gives you for getting electricity on your behalf. So when you sign up for electricity and you don't make an election for a supplier, you don't pick your own supplier, you're put into RG&E's default for a rate that changes every month. And then you're charged a small merchant function charge for them to get electricity on your behalf. So this section changes with a community choice aggregation in place. So instead of being in RG&E's default with getting a third-party supplier, you would now be in the community's supply program. So what that means is instead of having a variable rate, you would have a fixed rate, and we'll look at the rates here in a moment, and it would be the same every month. So your usage might change, so the supply overall total will change, but the rate at which you're paying each month remains the same. So when you're thinking about changes to your bill, so how this program impacts your bill, it's still all one RG&E bill. So you still pay your bill as normal. There's no changes there. The only thing that differs is this electricity supply section moves to the end of the bill. It's taken out of RG&E's section, and the new supplier is listed along with that new fixed rate, as well as their contact information and more information about them. So if you ever have questions or things, their contact information will be right there on the bill. You can still do things like budget billing and auto pay. You can still do all of your own meter reads or allow them to do it for you. All of that remains the same. So the only thing that changes is the electricity supply section moves and you see the new fixed rate from the new supplier. So that merchant function charge goes away and the variable supply charge also switches to a fixed rate. Okay. So next we'll look at the role of the utility. So if you're not getting supply from RG&E's variable supply, how does your relationship with the utility change? And the answer to that is RG&E is not generating the electricity for their variable supply rate. They're getting it from a third party. So by switching suppliers, you are not impacting your relationship with RG&E whatsoever. So they're not losing any money. You don't get treated any differently. It's still the exact same relationship. So they will continue to deliver your electricity, maintain the lines, do meter reads, send you your bills, budget billing, all of those things. Your relationship with RG&E does not change at all as a result of this program, so you can still call them if you have questions or concerns with your bill, things like that. None of that changes. Okay, so to touch a little bit about the background of CCA or why the town has adopted a community choice aggregation program. You heard a little bit about it from your supervisor, but there's a lot of demand in our upstate New York communities for more options when it comes to electricity. So there was a time back in the 80s, 90s where electricity rates here got very, very high. There was only one supplier that you just had to pick it, just like the utility. There was one option. You couldn't choose anything else, so you were stuck paying high rates. New York State decided to deregulate our electric grid, allowing us to have more suppliers, give us more options, negotiate for better rates. And now, as that's evolved, we now have community choice aggregation programs, which takes it one step further by allowing you to come together as a group to negotiate for more favorable electricity terms. So there's groups that really want to support renewable energy. New York State has very aggressive clean energy goals. There's people that like the idea of fixed rates to protect against that market volatility. And through community choice aggregation, you have more rights as a consumer. So one thing that's really cool about community choice aggregation is instead of getting your own electricity supply from a third-party supplier or an ESCO and having to agree to their contracts and their terms, with community choice aggregation, the town and the program administration work together to determine the contract with the supplier. So the suppliers are meeting our demands rather than the other way around. So this allows us to do things like access renewable energy and better rates. So it's just another choice that you have. So that being said, electricity is something that we all have to pay for. So we might as well explore all of our options. Again, this is a community choice program. So it is up to you whether or not you want to participate. Here's a few more benefits. So one thing that's really important with a fixed rate is that variable rates change based on the market. So 1 month, the rate might be very low. The next month, it might double or triple, depending on what's going on in the world that are impacting gas markets, which impact the electricity market here in New York. Fixed rates avoid that. You have a really good idea of what you'll be paying each month because you know what your rate is going to be. Another thing that's really great about these programs is that there are no contracts or exit fees. It just becomes the new default. You are not required to participate, and you will not be punished in any way for opting out of the program or choosing not to participate. So it's just an option for the community. So one thing that's important to note with an automatic enrollment process or the new default is that as the default, those who are eligible are automatically enrolled unless they change their enrollment options, which they can do at any time. But before the program launches is the most important time. So we'll talk about that more in a second, but you can opt out at any time. Just know that if you're eligible for automatic enrollment, there is a certain window that you need to leave if you never want to participate in the program. So it's very simple, and we'll talk about it in a moment. But you can opt out at any time throughout the duration of the program. So now the key details, the pricing for the electricity supply. So the town, along with Monroe Community Power, the program administrators, went out to bid. We looked for any suppliers who were able to provide the town with enough electricity at the best price that they could come up with for a period of time. So the best fixed rates for whatever time period would offer the lowest best rates. And so the supplier who won was Constellation New Energy. This is a supplier that we've worked with in several of our other community choice aggregation programs. They also serve the city of Rochester, so they have a lot of experience being a supplier for community choice aggregation programs. The program length or the length of this pricing is 27 months. So it begins in September and will run until November 2025. And so here in this table, we see the rates, and these are listed in dollars per kilowatt hour. So what the default is, or what people would be enrolled into without, if they don't switch, they're offering is the 50% New York State renewable for residential. That's 9.156 cents per kilowatt hour. So what does 50% renewable mean? 50% renewable means 50% New York State generated renewable electricity that is backed by renewable energy certificates. So that's how New York State tracks renewable energy generation. All of that electricity is certified with renewable energy certificates. So 50% from New York State, and then the other 50% is also renewable, but it comes from national sources. So it could be renewable energy generation in Kansas or Texas, somewhere else in the country, but it is all renewable. It's just 50% New York State renewable. So 50% of that is going to support the New York State renewable energy generation market. The other options that you have are standard supply and 100% renewable. So for residential, that's almost 7.5 cents per kilowatt hour, and then it's slightly different for small commercial. Standard supply is going to be a fossil fuel mix similar to what you could get on the grid right now. So it'll have some fossil fuel powered electricity, some renewables, a blend of both, but that's going to be the cheapest. And then if you want to go up and support New York State renewables more, you could opt into the 100% renewable for a little bit more than the 50%. So you're going to be paying a slight premium for New York State renewables, 100%, but that money does go back to the New York State community to support renewable generation and drive that market. And so what I will say with these is these were the best rates that are available on the market right now, essentially for community choice aggregations at this time. So this was the best rate that we got from suppliers. These rates are comparable to what we're seeing in other community choice aggregation programs that are in the region. The City of Rochester's new programs rates are very similar to these, and these are the rates that you'll continue to see throughout the next few months of similar community choice aggregation program renewals. And so I know that this rate is a little bit higher than RG&E's rate is right now. But what this means is that suppliers across New York State believe that the electricity rate is going to continue to go up. So this rate is projected, they've looked at it for the next 27 months, and we believe that this will continue to be comparable to the variable electricity supply rate. So this is not a guaranteed savings program. It's designed to be competitive with the utility market rate, but as that rate changes each month, and this one is fixed, it cannot be guaranteed to be below. So while it's not a guaranteed savings program, there are opportunities for savings. You might have seen it in other areas of your life, but things are getting more expensive. We're experiencing a little bit of price increases across the board, and that's true for electricity supply. So I know that these rates might not be as low as we had hoped, but they are competitive with the market, and they're going to stay competitive as everything else continues to rise. That being said, you always have the option to opt down to the standard supply at 7.49 cents per kilowatt hour. That's more affordable. Or if you're not worried about the cost, which, just a few cents difference really doesn't have that big of impact on your bill year to year. I know that, 9 cents to 10 cents can be a jump for some people, but on the overall annual scope of your bill, it does not have that big of impact. Remember, we are only talking about electricity supply, not the delivery prices or gas. So this is just electricity supply. Fairly small section of your bill is not that much more over the course of the year, but you do have options. You can opt up or down, or you can just opt out and pay the variable market rate. So you have some options. Also, all of these prices are also in the letter that you should have received, or they're also available on our website, Monroe Community Power. So you can find all of this information on there as well. But so now that the program is beginning to launch, how will it impact you? So for the most part, those of you who received the letter, everyone that received the letter is eligible for the automatic switchover. If you didn't receive the letter, it may be because you're not eligible for the automatic enrollment. That may not mean you're not eligible at all, but it just means you're not being enrolled right away. So for example, those of you who already have a supplier or a contract with an ESCO, you would not be automatically enrolled to this program. If you've already selected your supplier, that decision is honored. This program does not impact you. However, if you are interested in joining the program, you could leave your current supplier and switch over to the town's program. Just know to look out for exit fees with your current contract and things like that. So this program does not have exit fees, but some of the independent suppliers do. So just be aware of that. Customers who are billed based on demand, or if you have large electricity usage, you may not be eligible for automatic enrollment, so you might not have gotten a letter. Customers that have a block on their account, Home Energy Assistant Program or HEAP recipients, and time of use accounts, so those different categories of people would not be automatically switched over. So there's a little bit of a different case there. So if someone, doesn't receive a letter, it might be because they're not eligible for that automatic enrollment. But for everyone else, if you received the letter, you would be set to be automatically enrolled when the program launches. However, you do have the option to opt out or change your enrollment. So as part of that letter that you received, you should have received a little card that looks like this. This is an opt-out card. So if you're not interested in participating, you want to stay with the variable rate, that's completely fine. Just date this card, put it in the prepaid envelope that's included in the letter, and send it back. We'll opt you out and you'll be good to go. Just that easy, just sign it, put it in the box and send it off. You can also change your enrollment, and ways to do that is you can go to monroecommunitypower.com, go to our website and fill out the enrollment change form to opt out or change your enrollment. It's very quick. It only takes a couple of minutes. And the easiest way to do that is by looking at the card you received and look for that pre-enrollment ID number that's right there at the top left. That pre-enrollment ID number, if you have it, it'll allow us to very easily switch your options. So if you want to opt out or change your enrollment, we can do that very easily with that number. If you lose your card, don't worry about it. We'll also be able to look you up, but just if you have the number, it's a lot easier. Also, please know if you ever send us an email or give us a call if you'd like to opt out. You can also do that after hours. Just leave us a voicemail and let us know your pre-enrollment ID number and what you'd like to do, or let us know your name and your address and what you'd like to do. And we can opt you out or change your enrollment. Just make sure you leave us the good information that we need. Okay, so you can call us, email us, go online, or send back the card in the prepaid envelope to change your enrollment. So all of them are super easy. And can be done in just a couple of minutes. So there's lots of different ways to opt out or change your enrollment. Okay, and so those letters went out around July 10th. If for some reason you haven't received one and believe you should be eligible, you might want to just wait around a little while. We did send them out right when we experienced some of those really bad storms in other parts of the state. So there was some flooding, which we think has impacted the mailing a little bit. So keep an eye out for that. It should be coming if you haven't already received that. Also, this opt-out period or this enrollment period lasts from July 10th to August 8th. That between those times, you can opt out or change your enrollment. If you opt out, you will never be enrolled into the program. So you can opt out before the program ever even launches. Do know that you can opt out after that, but if you opt out after that point in time, you may be enrolled for the first billing cycle. So if you don't want to participate at all, opt out early before the program launches. And then after August 8th, so the program rates will show up on your RG&E bill after your first meter read after the beginning of September. So with the utility, they adjust all of your accounts during your meter read. And so your meter read has a big impact on enrollment and changing your supply. So after that meter read in September, then look out for the new rate. So if your meter is read, you know, after or right before that or after that, might take a little while, but your first bill after your meter read is when that will show up. And again, it's just that supply section. It'll have the new supplier, Constellation New Energy, and the fixed rates that we saw. If you opt out of the program, your bill will not change from what it looks like now. All right, so I'm going to cover a few frequently asked questions, and then I'll get to the chat and get to all of your questions. Some of these we may have talked about, but we get asked them often. So I just want to make sure we go over them just in case. So first, does this program replace my utility? And the answer to that question is no. You still have RG&E, Rochester Gas and Electric, for your utility. So they still do all of the things they normally do. You're just purchasing your supply from the community supplier rather than a third-party supplier from the utility. So does it impact the reliability of your electricity? So I'm sure you've heard about other states across the country with rolling blackouts and things like that. And the answer is no. This program has no impact on the reliability of your electricity, and you'll never lose service as a result of participating in this program. So if a tree gets blown over and takes out your power line, RG&E will still come and fix it. There's no difference to how everything operates now. It's just a different supplier. It just changes who's receiving the money. It's changing the money to a New York State renewables, essentially. It is not a guaranteed savings program. So while it's designed to be competitive and offer better rates than what you could get as an individual looking for the same product, it is not a guaranteed savings program. So do be aware of that. Many of our programs across the state see savings. There's a lot of benefits of a fixed rate, but it's not a guaranteed savings program. And do know that you can change your supply choice at any time. So if you want to opt out, the best time to opt out is before the program launches, but you can still opt out and change your enrollment at any time. There are never any contracts, fees, or penalties. So it's very simple to opt out or change your enrollment. Do you have to stay in the program the entire time? The answer to that is no. Not required at all. This is completely optional. It just changes the default. And then can you participate if you have your own solar or participate in a community solar program? And so the answer to that is yes, you can absolutely participate if you benefit from solar as well. The programs actually work a little separately on your bill. It's a little bit confusing, but you can still participate in that. You'll still receive your solar credits, or you'll still be able to sell your solar credits. That does not have any impact on this program. So if you're in a community solar program or generate your own solar, you can still do that and just contribute more to the state's renewable energy generation. And then what happens when the program ends? So the program is a 27-month contract right now. And when that expires, you'll have a few options. So the town can either go back out to bid and seek a new electricity supply contract with new rates and new offerings, or they could decide not to, and everyone would be switched back to the variable supply rate. So you'd go back to having RG&E get a third-party supplier on your behalf. So no interruption of service, nothing like that. You won't lose power as a result of this program. You just switch back to the variable or renew a contract. And then I'm going to start getting to questions. But before I do that, if anyone needs to hop off, I want to make sure you all have this information. So this is our phone number and email address. We have a great team who is able to address all of your questions and concerns. We also have a website, monroecommunitypower.com, and a Facebook page as well. If you go to monroecommunitypower.com and go to events, you can see all of our upcoming events. We do have an in-person event at the Henrietta Library coming up here soon. So You can attend, it'll be the same, but if someone missed this one, if you'd like to recommend it, you can come in person and ask questions or see the presentation again. This presentation will also be recorded, so it'll be available online as well.